Wondering what the F has happened to your body and your life? You're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to Season 3 of Transforming 45, where we dive into the incredible stories of how brilliant humans are navigating the midlife squeeze with courage, passion, and a healthy dose of humor. Don't miss out on any of our heart-led episodes. Hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, and if you're inspired, share an episode you love with a friend. It means more to me than I can express that you're choosing to spend time here and sharing our message of midlife revolution. So let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Transforming 45. This week's topic is really intriguing. And to be honest, when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know, is this something I want to have a conversation about? And our guest just reminded me that I actually recorded an entire episode about it. So I am thrilled to welcome Tamar Hurwitz-Fleming. She is a birthday aficionado dedicated to helping people harness the transformational power of their birthdays so they can experience more joy, meaning, and fulfillment in their lives. Growing up, Tamar had happy, sad, and terrible birthdays until she realized that having a fulfilling birthday was entirely up to her. In her award-winning book, How to Have a Happy Birthday, and its new companion workbook, Tamar explores why birthdays matter, why they can be hard for us, and what we can do to fully pull ourselves into the center of our day. Really love that part. So Tamar, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm delighted to be here.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Tamar, who are you and how did life introduce you to this version?
I am a 59-and-a-half-year-old woman who has been living a very fulfilling life, mostly under, the steam of my own ship. In other words, making myself manifest myself to my full potential as much as possible. And the way I got here was by living life, by making mistakes, by making great choices, by making other kinds of choices, and realizing that I'm in charge of me. And if I want to have a good life, it's up to me. And most of the things I can't control in my life, and the things that I can't control, I can control my attitude about them. And that's how I got to be a fulfilled 59-and-a-half-year-old woman that I am today.
Yeah. It's so true, right? That it is, when I ask that question, people go all over the place, which I love. It's why I love the question. And it's life.
It's life.
It is life that brings us to this version of ourselves, always and forever. It is life. And I am so curious around what it was about birthdays that really drew you in to think about what are their values, how do they impact us, and why do we need to pay attention to them?
Yeah. Well, looking back, I realized that I was tuning into my birthday experiences from a very young age without really realizing it, but I have very strong memories. One of my first memories is of my third birthday. Like, I absolutely remember the taste of the cake. I remember when I turned 5, I got yelled at earlier that day, and I was still smarting from that. And, when they all came with cake and they started singing to me, I felt this pressure, like I was supposed to be happy, like I was supposed to perform, to be happy for the people of my family singing to me. And I wasn't, right? So I was confused. I was emotionally confused. And so I have certain birthday memories that continue that, again, some were happy, some were sad, some were very devastating. I mean, for me, my worst birthday was when I turned 18, and it was my first year away from home. I'm the baby of the family of 4 kids. I was turning 18, a milestone birthday. And the only plans I had for my birthday was to wake up and start receiving the phone calls from my family wishing me a happy birthday. Those were my birthday plans. Well, unfortunately, those calls never came. My family completely forgot my birthday, and I was devastated. I mean, it was like, how could you? How could you forget my birthday? I'm 18, I'm, the baby. But they did. Unfortunately, it reinforced some negative ideas I had about myself, that maybe I wasn't so lovable, maybe I didn't matter. And that put me into a negative spin around the whole birthday experience. 2 years later, though, something wonderful happened. I turned 20, another milestone birthday. I was spending my junior year abroad in France. No one was around to celebrate me. So when I woke up on my birthday, I still didn't have plans, but I decided I was going to take the day off and go have a good day. I walked through town. I bought myself a birthday present for the first time in my life. It was a fancy bottle of French perfume I could not afford on my student budget, but I bought it anyway. And I ended up having a wonderful birthday, invited some friends over later for cake. I had a great birthday because I took charge of it. I made it happen. I didn't outsource my joy to others. I took charge. So that was a real aha moment for me. And from that point on, I understood that to be happy on your birthdays, you have to make it happen for yourself. Now, the reason for the book came much later. It was probably about 15, 20 years ago, a friend of mine. I knew he didn't like his birthdays, but I thought, well, maybe it's because people didn't show up for him or make enough of a big deal. So on the day of his birthday, I brought him a big, beautiful box of donuts. Happy birthday. And you know what his reaction was? He was mad at me. He's like, I told you I don't like my birthdays. And I was taken aback. He really actually did mean what he said, but he said it with anger. You know, like he had emotion there that was confusing to me. I didn't understand that, right? It's one thing to not like your birthday, but to be angry when someone actually wants to honor you on your birthday. That made me walk away with donuts in hand and say, something's up with that. Something's up with that. And the more I started to think about it, the more I realized that actually a lot of people don't have happy birthdays. We're all on a spectrum, whether we are birthday positive or birthday avoidant. We're all somewhere on that spectrum. I actually believe you could draw a line right down the middle and we'll be on, half of us are on one side, half of us are on the other. But that got me thinking. And I started doing a lot of internal investigation of my own birthday experiences. I started talking to many other people about theirs. And I realized that there was a self-help book that needed to be written about how to have a happy birthday.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, that story that you just told highlights what that day, because it can seem, in the way we conceptualize birthdays traditionally in our society, it can seem kind of trite, right? Like
Yeah.
it's one day, it's just that, like, why is this such a big deal? And it also really highlights what our lived experience has been. It's that day, when you and I were talking earlier, one of the things that I really loved was it's like, this is the day you committed to this earth experience.
Exactly.
Right? Like if you, everything else aside, your lived experience and what has come to be constructed around that day for you, just, stripping it back to that alone of that was huge. It was
Yeah.
a huge decision you made to come to this very challenging earth school. And so give yourself credit for that.
Yeah.
This is a day you chose to do something really hard.
Yeah. That's exactly right. We are all miracles. All of us are miracles. And you're right. It is the day that our souls took physical form to join Earth School, to continue our evolutionary journey, whatever that means, spiritually speaking. That's a whole nother conversation some other
Yeah.
time, right? But let's acknowledge that, right? That our birthday
Mhm.
is the day our life began. There is nothing more sacred and more spiritual than our birthday, other
Mhm.
than our death day. But we're not here to celebrate that, right? We're only here to celebrate our birthday. And when we allow ourselves to put ourselves in the center of our lives, just one day a year, to honor ourselves, honor the life we're living, do some self-questioning, some investigation. Am I living the life I want to be living? Birthdays are like a personal new year. They're a very powerful opportunity to look forward and say, what can I change in the coming year to be more in alignment with the life I want to be living, to be more in alignment with the person I want to be? And I'm not talking about going to the gym, like we do on New Year's Day with those resolutions.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the deep stuff. Are you fulfilled in your life? And if the answer is yes, hooray, what more can you do this year to keep that going? And if you're not, what small changes can you start to make? Because the big changes are daunting, but we can all start with small changes. And so what can you do in the coming year to help bring about yourself into alignment with your life? And I think birthdays can be really, really wonderful that way if we choose to use them that way. In addition to just celebrating ourselves, right? Pressing
Yeah.
the pause button on all the people pleasing we do and saying, okay, today's my day. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? What will delight me? Right? Go have fun. Lift your spirit. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great way to model for the people in your life as
Yeah.
well that this is how I want to be treated. So I think about, so one, I'm an only child, and two, which I didn't know until very recently, my mom had had a lot of miscarriages before I was born, and so I was kind of this like miracle,
Yeah.
which I didn't know until after she had passed away. It
Mm.
was actually my aunt told me this story very recently. And so I think about these days that my mom created for me as I grew up. My birthday was always a special thing. She made my favorite foods and made a beautiful cake and made sure friends and family were there to all be together. And I also think about, so she created that reality for me, and knowing that this was a day that was special and sacred, like you said. And as I'm getting older and having my own motherhood experiences, thinking about what that day meant for her
Mm.
as well.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't think about that. Like I do often, especially my children's first birthdays. That day was all about me, really.
All that work you did a year earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that and
it's heroic.
kept this small human alive for a year. It was really hard, and we've made it. So we are celebrating the fact that we did that.
Yeah,
And every year, I have this sort of push and pull. And I think that that is also something, when you talked about a death day, so there is that recognition every year there's a birthday. And there's also the recognition that we are getting a year closer
yeah,
to that day where we will exit.
yeah,
And as the mother, I do have that like push and pull with my boys' birthdays as well, because I think I've talked about this a lot on the show, but there is this celebration of the human they are and the grief of the
yeah,
boy and the baby that they were
yeah,
who I miss.
yeah, yeah,
And so those dates are reminders that we are on this earth school, and there are so many interactions for ourselves and for the people around us.
yeah, absolutely. And, I'm 59 and a half. I turned 59 and a half yesterday.
Happy
So
happy birthday.
thank you. But what that means is that in 6 months, I'm going to be 60. I'll be 60
Mhm.
actually in January. That's a big number. And what it means a lot to me, but it especially means exactly what you said, that there's less time ahead of me to fulfill my potential, to enjoy my life, to do what I want to do. I'm having a good life, right? And when we're having a good life, let's turn the joy up, right? I mean, bad things can happen in a life, and bad things have certainly happened in mine. But I'm actually recognizing that the other shoe hasn't dropped. Life is good. So great. Let's enjoy, but there's less time ahead of me. And that wakes me up to the urgency really of living my life on my own terms. What do I want to do? Can I do it? And if I can't, it's okay. I can let it go. I'm not going to go climb Mount Everest. It was never my dream anyway, but I'm at that point physically where again, I'm not going to do that, but that ship has sailed. I'm not doing that. Right. But that's okay. I have other dreams. I have other mountains that I want to climb, symbolically speaking. And so I want to do them. And, there's this term, memento mori, which means I remember that I will die. And as much as people don't want to hear that or talk about death, let's be honest, we're all going there. And when we remember that, it helps us be more sacred with the life we're living now, more appreciative. I think I'm going to turn 60 in January, right? I hope to turn 60 in January. There's no guarantee. So let this moment together that we're having right now be precious. Let me be fully present with what we're doing right here now. And that enriches my life just like that.
That's a really beautiful perspective. And I think it's at the root of a lot of what happens in this midlife transition, right? Because so I just turned 48. 50 is on the horizon for me. It's kind of it more than anything feels like that halfway, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm halfway to 100.
Yeah. It's a big number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a significant number. And it's a very concrete reminders of where we are, what we had imagined,
Yes.
what we are maybe reconnecting to,
Right.
right? That because a lot of transition tends to happen at this time of life. I talk about this a lot on the show in my own context. Changed careers and my kids are out of the house and all the things, but that means that we have more space in our lives to do that kind of thinking and reflection around how do I want to live the remainder of my journey, however long that may be.
Yeah.
And so people really struggle often with these birthdays.
Yeah.
And so, what are some of the strategies you give people? I mean, you've got that beautiful perspective. And if someone is really struggling, what are some just like grounded strategies you can give them to help them be a little more easily approachable of those?
Well, I actually want to take a big step back and say that
Yeah.
if any of your listeners are having problems with their birthday in general and don't like their birthday and are birthday avoidant, right? Then I would ask that they start to do some inquiry, some self-inquiry, and ask, why don't I like my birthdays? What happened possibly in childhood to make me feel like I wasn't special? We're sensitive as children. We're like anemones. And when it's our birthday, we know we're special. Right? We understand that birthdays are special. And if our parents dismiss us or forget or yell at us or something, we can really shut down and protect ourselves from opening up again. Like I can't handle that kind of disappointment anymore, especially on my birthday. So birthdays don't matter to me. Keep them away. I don't like them. I mean, there's all sorts of excuses we give ourselves to cover up for the scarring that happened, typically in childhood, around our birthday experience. So if any of you are resonating with this and little twinklings are going off, go ahead and dive into those memories and allow yourself to have some healing around them, because that's over and we're here now. And moving forward, you can have a happier birthday than you've ever had if you allow yourself and give yourself permission to put yourself in the center of your life one day a year, to celebrate yourself as the miracle you are. So to do that, you start planning, just like your birthday is a major holiday. So the first thing that we do is we plan for it at least a month in advance. If it's a milestone birthday like 50 or 60, and you really think that you want to do something big about it, you need to start planning even sooner than that, right? Thinking about, like, if you want a big party with the disco ball, you got to plan to make that happen, right? If you want to go on a trip, you got to make that happen. If you want to rent out a restaurant and have your friends over, just stuff that you've got to put into action so that when your birthday comes, you're ready for it. The worst thing that we do is don't plan for our birthday. We wake up on our birthday, we don't have plans. And then it's like, oh, I guess I'll ask some friends to go have drinks with me after work. Well, they're not available. You didn't ask them and give them enough time. They feel bad because they can't go. You feel bad. You've now subconsciously reinforced your negative self-belief that your birthdays aren't important and aren't worth celebrating. You've actually sabotaged your birthday joy by not planning, right? So planning in advance is key. And then making sure you're doing what you want, that you're not doing what other people want. I heard a story of a man I was talking to. He was turning 50. His friends and his family wanted to throw him a big party. All he wanted to do was go on a solo trip. But they threw him the party, and on his 50th birthday, he wasn't particularly delighted because that's not what he wanted to do. And I'd said, well, maybe, you could have had the party a week earlier and then gone on the solo trip on your birthday, because the birthday itself is the sacred day of alignment with your spirit and yourself. But in terms of the milestone birthdays and hitting these ages, as women, and we know this, aging can be a 4-letter word. Right? Society reveres the young, society markets to the young, society sells us all of these products and procedures and promises that if we just do this, we will be eternally youthful. I actually don't want to be eternally youthful. Personally, I know what I was like when I was younger. I know what I looked like when I was younger. I'm really curious to see what age is going to do to me, right? Is my hair going to turn bright white? Am I going to get wrinkles like Georgia O'Keeffe, who I love, right? I mean, what am I going to look like as an elderly woman? I'm actually really fascinated by that transformation that happens on the number line of life and age, right? And if I'm lucky enough to be old enough to get those kinds of wrinkles and white hair, that's something to celebrate and revere. And I feel no shame about that. I have no shame about the gray hair that's coming in or the wrinkles that are happening. Why should I? Why should I feel ashamed about that? No one gets to define me or take away my power. I'm in charge of that. And unfortunately, because we're so sensitive, we're conforming creatures, we're social animals, we're so sensitive to what we see online and the influencers and our friends. And, when everyone starts doing stuff, we feel like we should be doing it too. That's fine if that's what you choose to do, but be conscious about it. Is that really true for you? And if it's not, don't apologize for yourself as you age out loud, right? Tell your age. There's nothing to be ashamed of, and actually change that exists in society, that once we become a certain age as women, we become invisible. We're no longer powerful. We're no longer attractive. Like, says who? Says who? I'm not agreeing to that. Are you? No, exactly. Right. We've got to start a movement to say, I'm not buying the lie.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like that really is the work that our generation is doing, is creating that new story and creating that new narrative. It's funny. I just made a post yesterday because I just got my hair done, my roots done.
Looks good.
Well, thank you. And it's funny. I do have this push-pull with it. And part of it is I'd wanted to be a redhead my whole life. And I waited until I was 40 years old to make this leap and decide, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to have red hair. And so I'm not ready to let go of that yet, because it was a dream that I had. And so that's really my main motivation, because I still feel most like myself when I am in this hair.
Yeah. And that's a choice you get to make consciously. At any point, you can change it. You can go as gray as you want and then become a redhead again. Like, there's no proclamations. It's just the choices we make every day of our lives to be who we want to be. And so, age as you will. But the thing about aging that's really interesting to me, that I think is the thing I'm hearing you say, is that you don't actually recognize yourself with gray hair. You've never seen yourself with gray hair. And as it starts to come in, it's like, I don't know who this person in the mirror is. I don't recognize myself. This isn't how I identify. I don't understand the sagging or the wrinkles, or for me, the crepe paper skin. Like, who is this person? I don't like it. A stranger is staring back at me and I'm not used to this person. And if I have a self-image that's pretty rooted in my younger version of myself, I'm going to have a hard time accepting this newer, older version that is starting to replace the younger version. That's fair. That's fair that I'm going to have a hard time with that. But then I make a choice about it. Do I struggle? Do I surrender? Do I celebrate? Do I embrace? Right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's all of it at different times, depending on how I'm feeling.
Yeah. And I think that acknowledgement that it is all of it and it
Yeah.
can be all of it. It doesn't have to, we are all going to have our own experience. And that was another thing I really was hearing you say around you get to decide, right? What that day or maybe longer. I was talking to a friend yesterday whose partner turned 50 this year and they've been celebrating all year. And I was like, that's great.
Yeah. It's
Do
like
that. And
like a
he's
jubilee year.
yeah, and he's just doing all the things he loves, like going on a trip with his friends and they're going on a trip and they had drinks, like just all of just doing these things that you love.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to look like one specific thing.
That's right.
I will say it was something my partner and I had to navigate because, as I mentioned, I had this like fairly elaborate birthday ritual, which he had not experienced. And so it took him some time to wrap his mind around like, why does this matter to you?
Yeah.
Because it hadn't been his experience and it didn't really matter. And all he ever wants is a blueberry pie on his for his, and I was doing that and feeling inadequate about it. But as we've been married for 24 years this year, and now I realize like that's his choice. That's what he loves.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
loves that I make him a blueberry pie, and that's what makes him happy.
That's beautiful. And he knows what he wants. And, I'm so happy you said that because, I'm bullish about birthdays. I'm like, string up those banners, bring in that cake, the whole thing. But what your husband is telling you is like, for him, all he wants is a blueberry pie. And if it's honestly a true thing versus him being noble and martyred because nobody celebrated him and he's got low expectations and all he wants is a blueberry pie, I would push through that. I would string up the banner. I would say, come on, what do you want to do? Let's take the day off work. Let's go play hooky, right? I would push in that direction if I intuited that my partner was actually keeping their birthday energy dim and asking for something so simple that it seemed like that's all he wanted when really maybe there was something deeper going on. It's a tricky thing to navigate.
Yeah.
Believe people what they tell you. We don't need to get into their space and be a codependent. But, I think that there is something to look at and experiment with. My husband wasn't that into his birthdays either. He's getting a lot more into them now because year after year, I'm encouraging him to plan and to think about what he wants to do. And we go out and we have a special day and he feels it. He can feel the transformative energy that comes from that kind of experience, that there are ways we can celebrate our partners, but it's really important that we follow their lead. Even though we're helping make them more birthday positive and feel more joy on their day, it's still something that we can start asking them about a month in advance. Hey, what interests you? What would you like to do? And then be a support and an ally for their birthday experience.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And earlier on in our marriage, I did that and I would throw him a party. And afterwards, he always would say to me, Lisa, like, this was nice, but I just wanted a pie. And so
Interesting. So he really means that.
he
Yeah.
really means it. And
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you were saying about you get to choose. You get to choose
Yes.
what it is that feels really good for you. And it might not look like anything a traditional birthday celebration looks like. And that's okay.
That's right.
It's
That's
about,
right.
yeah. And it's a really great activity also. I was thinking as you were talking, one of the themes that comes up in my work with middle-aged women in particular is that need to reconnect to self.
Yeah.
That we've been, living as our roles, not necessarily as ourselves. We have been so wrapped up in all of the caregiving and the career building and all of those things that we have lost track of who we actually are.
Yeah.
And so this can be a really intentional day, like you said
Exactly.
earlier, to do some reflection and think about what is it that I really love? If there were moments from your past where you're like, that was a birthday celebration that I loved. I felt great about that. What was it that felt great? And how can I bring that forward into my context now?
That's right. And, I just love what this emphasis, like, what do you want to do? Sometimes we don't know what we want to do. We're so used to taking care of others. And again, putting ourselves second that we don't know how to put ourselves in the center of our day. And that's why birthdays are so powerful. They help us practice putting ourselves in the center of our life. And it's just one day a year and everybody lets us have it. So there's no apology needed, right? There's no excuses that need to be made. It's like, hey, folks, it's my birthday. I'm taking the day off work and I'm going to go to an all day spa. And then I'm going to go have a fabulous dinner with my family or my friends, right? Like whatever you want to do. But allowing yourself to have it, I think, is a powerful act of self-affirmation, and it can be healing, actually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The healing part, I think, is so important because as you were talking, I was thinking about, and then how do we take that energy forward into the next day and the day after? Because, yeah, having the celebration on the day of is lovely. And then how do we hold on to that healing? And we're not giving ourselves a birthday celebration every day necessarily, unless you
No.
want to, and then go on, like have a great time. But if how do we hold that energy of center, keeping ourselves as the main character of our story?
Yeah. Yeah. And, we may not have that answer until we've had several birthdays in a row where we started to practice that, right? I think it's actually quite hard to snap out of the day to day habits that we put on ourselves and that others expect of us, right? I mean, these are relationships that are very deeply formed with family, especially, right? Especially if we're mom or a partner, even at work, right? There's some people that always get the tasks and the other people leave work early, right? We all know that we all show up in different ways in life. And so a birthday gives us an opportunity to take a break from that, put ourselves first, and experience again the healing and the transformative joy that can come from allowing ourselves to delight within ourselves on our birthday. And yes, start taking notes. What worked? What felt good about that? And try and stretch into that newer skin that you might have experienced on your birthday as the days unfold beyond your birthday. But, don't put pressure on yourself to suddenly say, okay, now I should all be different, because I think that kind of meaningful change takes a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's grief in it as well. And I
Yeah.
think it's important to acknowledge that even if we are celebrating ourselves and doing things that we love, there still can be some sadness and pain and
Yes.
some grief that exists in all of
Yes.
that because my birthday falls at the same time as Mother's Day generally. I actually was born on Mother's Day, and it's an extra reminder every year that my mom died and she's not there to celebrate me in the ways that we always did that together.
Yeah.
And then now, the majority, my godfather just passed away earlier this week. So some of my grief is a little bit closer to the surface than
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
my mom, my dad, my grandparents, except for my grandma, my mom's mom, my godparents, all of those adults who were really formative in my early life and were always part of those celebrations aren't here anymore.
Mm,
And so I do hold that, right?
yeah.
And I think that sometimes can be part of the avoidance for people is because it does bring up grief and sadness for whatever reason it is.
Sure.
And what are some of the ways that you help people hold both things to be true at the same time?
So I always say that, and I'm tearing up just hearing your story because I can feel that feeling that you're feeling in the lot. My parents are no longer here also, and I also miss them on my birthdays.
Right.
I put pictures of them up I create a birthday altar the night before my birthday, and I put pictures of me and my parents up and the happy birthday banner. And that's a wonderful thing that I do to turn on the birthday spirit. But I miss my parents on my birthday. And you know what? Because it's my birthday, and it's the day that I was born from my mother, I feel their spirits bright and shiny on my birthday, right? So even though they're not physically there and I feel that loss and I feel the grief, I always say a broken heart is an open heart.
Mhm.
And if I can just shift my attention a little bit, rather than focusing too much on the loss, let me focus on tuning into the spiritual vibrations that are fully there on you're very spiritual on your birthday, right? You're in total spiritual alignment. Well, your parents' spirits are there for you. And if you're up for it, call them in, say hi. What's their birthday wish for you? Imagine that they're writing you a letter. What would they say to you? I mean, there's ways that you can work with really the magic of the birthday and the eternal spirit of those that have passed on beyond, right? Because if we entered our life and our birthday and we leave after we die, we don't disappear. We're just leaving the physical shell.
Mhm.
So the spirit lives. And I do believe that 100%. So it's just learning how to tune in and connect with those that have departed on our birthday. And it's very possible to do that. And it's possible to do it on their birthday too.
Yeah.
My mom and dad, their birthdays just came and went. And boy, did I feel their energy very strongly. It was lovely. It's
Yeah.
like a gift.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah, it can absolutely be like a gift. And for folks who have never thought about a birthday in a spiritual way, because there are lots of people who fit into that container. What is something you offer people to really start to consider that element, that it is a sacred day. It is a spiritual day. And here's an accessible way to start thinking about it if you've never looked through that lens before.
Well, first I'd say if you are a spiritual person to begin with, it's going to be a lot easier for you to understand why a birthday is a spiritual day, right? If you're not a spiritual birthday, a book is a book, a table's a table, and that's it. There's nothing at the source of any of it. That's okay. You can still have a great birthday and not have it be spiritual. That's fine. But for those of you that are curious about it or spiritual curious, this is the day that your life began. Again, you left spirit the day your life began. You left your ancestors, you left your spirit guides, you left all the angels saying goodbye, goodbye as you entered the physical plane. And your parents and those loved ones greeted you and said hello and welcome. That's a powerful transition. I've been in the room when babies were born, and I've been in the room when people have died. It's the exact same energy in the room. It's a very surreal energy.
Yes, it is.
It's like the door between the two worlds is open. A spirit's coming in, a spirit's going out. But when that door's open, you realize just how spiritual both of those acts are, birth and death, right?
Yeah.
So our birthday is very spiritual. And as I just said, one thing you can do to help enhance the spiritual qualities of your birthday is create a birthday altar, right? On your birthday eve. Birthday eves are powerful. Just think of Christmas Eve and how lovely Christmas Eve is before Christmas shows up. Same with birthday eve. It's like a freebie. Turn down the lights, light the candles, put on some music, create a birthday altar, put up a happy birthday banner, pictures of yourself, your parents, flowers, crystals, whatever you want, mementos of what you want to manifest for the coming year. And that is, again, like turning a light switch on the birthday spirit. So that the next morning when you wake up, one of the things I do first thing is I go sit before my birthday altar and I tune into myself, right? I tune into my spirit. I tune into my parents, my ancestors. I offer gratitude for myself, for being me, for being willing to be me in this life, for doing the things I've done and still hope to do. I connect with myself and I offer gratitude to, the universe, right? And that's a wonderful way to connect with my spirit so that as my day unfolds, I'm really present. I've had birthdays where I didn't do that. And, I wake up and then I'm off and running. And I always feel like I missed the bus. Like I'm trying to catch up. Like, wait, where am I in all of this? It's such a spiritual day that if you start with a spiritual moment, and that could be yoga, it could be your morning coffee in the garden, listening to the birds. It could be whatever, journaling, whatever works for you. But try and start your birthday with a quiet moment with just yourself, just even a few minutes so that you can center. And that's centering spiritually. Yeah. Also, pay attention to the magic and the miracles that can happen on your birthday. I love to turn on the radio, not my set list, just turn on the radio and see what comes through. It is amazing what can come through on your birthday. So do that. Also, a few years ago, I was traveling with some friends. It was my birthday and we played a card game. It was like 13 rounds and part of it was luck and part of it was choice about what you did with the cards. Never played before. I won the first game. Yay, it's birthday magic. I won. And then I won the second game. Oh my goodness, birthday magic. And then I won the third game and the fourth game. I tell you, I won 11 out of 13 rounds. Nobody could believe it, but I could because I knew it was birthday magic. That's exactly what it was. And I was manifesting it and sort of showing that that's what it looks like. And 2 days later, we played the game again. And of course, I only won twice. I didn't win that magical stream. That's birthday magic. If you're open to it, it'll come through. And when it comes through, go ahead and acknowledge that it was some birthday magic at play, right? Go ahead and give a little sparkle to the universe for giving that to you because that was your birthday present from the universe.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's kind of like the high five from the universe of like, look at you, you made it another year. Well done.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
The universe wants to shower us with blessings and magic and sparkle when we're open to it. And, your birthday is the number one day to be open to it. I'm just telling you right now, that is ground zero for spiritual alignment. The sun's right where it was when you were born. It's your day.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful perspective. And I really appreciate everything that you've brought to it. And one of the things I'm doing to wrap up my show at this juncture in time where, the world is not the easiest it's ever been. What is bringing you joy today?
It's interesting. What brings me joy is actually not drinking from the fire hose of all the bad news that's happening 24/7 in every part of the globe all the time, right? That actually takes my joy away. I've had to be really strict about staying present in my body wherever I am. If life is okay right now where I am in my body, I'm okay. If I'm in my body and present with my body. Let me radiate peace and generate peace in my body to help make peace happen more in the world. And then let me amplify my joy. That's been my motto for the past 2 years. It's not always easy, but my joy has increased because I've been very thoughtful about what I let into my psychic space, what I let into my mind. And it's very tempting to just drink from the fire hose, because how dare I not? How dare I not pay attention, right? It doesn't mean that I don't do stuff. It just means that I'm not drinking from the fire hose, which can really bring my energy down and not make me happy. And if I'm having a good life, it is incumbent on me not to squander my good life and to amplify my joy as a way, as an antidote to the despair and the pain, and to show that you can have a good life and still be a good person. But my pain that I feel about what's happening around the world only puts more pain into the universe. That doesn't help anybody. So the way that I'm creating joy is by actually owning it and allowing myself to have it.
Yeah, it's so important because we can absolutely be overwhelmed by, like you said, consciously choosing, understanding what's happening, but not taking it in constantly, because that does put us in a state of fawn or freeze or whatever your reaction is, which means we are unable to put that joy out into the world, to make spaces where people are seen. It's one of the reasons why artists, some of the greatest art comes out of these really challenging times, because creativity and joy are such beautiful acts of resistance.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And we get to choose that. And sometimes we feel guilty. Like, how dare you turn your head away? How dare you not drink from the fire hose? Do you understand what's happening here and here and here and here and here? And then tomorrow here and here. It's like, yeah, I understand. And there is nothing I can do about that. What I can do, I can do, right? And I know what I can do and I know what I can't do. But I can protect my energy. I can protect my psychic space. And I can radiate as much joy as possible to show and role model. It's okay. You can have a happy life despite the bad things happening in the world. It's okay. You don't have to feel guilty. Let's turn the volume up on the joy. Let's change the vibrations in the universe and bring more joy onto the physical plane simply by radiating it outwards.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So we will do that on our birthdays, and we will also can carry that through and do that in the rest of our lives. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. It was a real pleasure.
And your contact information will be in the show notes. So for anyone who wants to check out Tamar's book, if you want to connect in any way, all of that information will be in the show notes. And is there one easy way that people can connect with you?
Yeah, really simple. It's my website, howtohaveahappybirthday.com. Howtohaveahappybirthday.com. You can find the book, you can find me, you can find everything there.
Excellent. That's great. Thanks so much. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining me on this week's episode of Transforming 45. I hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to embrace every facet of your midlife journey. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. These actions make a world of difference in growing our podcast community. Your support helps us reach much more amazing listeners just like you. And don't forget, please share an episode you love with a friend or with your community. Sharing our stories is what helps our community grow. Keep shining your midlife magic, and I'll catch you next week.
Electricast.